Welcome. Namaste. The God in me sees the God in you. You are not broken. Meeting your unmet needs. Hi, my name is Aubrey Sanaya Love Lopez. And I want to share a little bit of my story and why I created this channel titled You Are Not Broken. There was a time in my life when I felt that I was broken. Time and time again. And my biggest pitfall or dark night of the soul came in 2018 when my husband was killed in a car accident. And I lived a high level of consciousness during this time. I lived many of the spiritual principles, and I used my spiritual principles to bypass my body's unmet needs. So 2 years after my husband was killed, I remarried, and I never would have imagined what happened to me 2 days after being freshly married, happy, joyful. Well, I got so sick that I could not get out of bed for a whole year. And this journey would take me 4 years to overcome. 4 years to begin to create my life again. Now, you might ask, wow, bedbound, 100% bedbound 2 days after being married. But there's a little bit of a backstory to this. When my husband was first killed in 2018, I had this perspective that how could he be killed? There is no death. Energy can either be created or destroyed. And I used my spirituality to cope with my reality. My reality was that my body was having this experience of losing this person who had been in my life for 28 years, my husband, and leaving me behind with our 2 girls, our 5 dogs, and so forth. I'm not going to relate the typical stories that happens to everybody. I just want to point out that when this happened, my body began to slowly break down. I began to get infections. I began to get one sickness after another. And it was a long journey. It was a journey in which I was emotionally spent. I was tired. I was uncertain of how to maneuver the grief journey, and I decided that I would mourn consciously. So, in making the decision to mourn consciously, I became the observer of my journey. And while I became the observer, I used a lot of my spirituality. I used a lot of coping skills to get through each and every day. So the first year that my husband was gone, it was getting used to the absence of his physical body. And it started the moment he died that my body began to experience sensations. It started with a throbbing behind my head, pain on the right side of my hip. It started with severe anxiousness, panic, which eventually would turn into something that I did not know could happen to people. And it's known as chronic fatigue syndrome. And not only did I have chronic fatigue, I had major thyroid issues. I had to deal with POTS, and I had to deal with sensitivities, and all of a sudden I couldn't have any noise near me. I couldn't have TVs turned on. I couldn't be near a computer. It became very, very confusing. And then I had different diagnoses from different physicians, and everybody putting me on something different. So in 2020, when I remarried, I understood that I had lost all of my safety. I had lost any trust that I had with my body. I no longer trusted what I was feeling because I didn't understand this level of illness. I did not understand that the body could have such a breakdown, which is initially what happened. I had an injury, a nervous system injury, and my body shut down. And it took more work to bring my body back. It took so much work. And I realized along my journey that I finally had reached a level of safety again when I remarried, and my body felt safe to break down because I was tired. I was tired of being strong. I was tired of just going through this grief journey alone, not knowing what was gonna greet me around the corner, because typical grieving did not work for me. It did not work for me. I knew that I was not at a low level of consciousness. However, I never understood until this happened to me that when the body has the experience, it is the body that needs to come back to safety. So my body needed to come back to safety. My body needed to know that I could trust the intelligence that it had. So eventually I did heal, and I healed with the innate capacity of my body's healing mechanisms. I got off of everything the doctors had given me. I got off of every single supplement. The only thing I needed to stay on was my thyroid medication. So I stayed on that. But I got off of any support for my adrenals, because one doctor was like, well, you have adrenal fatigue. Another test showed your hormones are all over the place. And then, of course, I came to realize that I had a discoherence in my body because I experienced such a traumatic event when my husband died. And what piled up on top of that was that I had to do this journey on my own. And at this time, there were other things that arose for me to heal. So I had a very traumatic childhood, and I had a very flawed upbringing, and a lot of abuse from my parents. And I never knew, I didn't realize that I had used so many coping skills, but I never healed anything. And when I went through this journey of breaking down, and I felt safe to break down with my new husband because there was nothing I could do. That is the journey, the active experience that I was in. And when supplements didn't work, pills didn't work, Western medicine didn't work, I finally had to take responsibility for healing my inner world at a whole new level, because I'd been doing this work since I was 24, maybe even younger, but making breakthroughs. From the age of 20, when I left home, I understood that I had a lot of healing to do. There was so much brokenness in me, but I thought I was broken. I didn't understand that it was simply needs that were not met in childhood. And this isn't to put blame on anyone. This is for me to finally take the responsibility that not everybody is meant to be in my life. If I wanted to live, and if I wanted to survive and come through this journey, I was going to have to find those needs that were not met and meet them myself. I was going to have to live more authentically than I had ever lived before, and stop using coping skills such as perfectionism, such as people pleaser, and those parts that were meeting me, that were there protecting me, showed me my strength. And I learned how to live from the highest part of me, my true superconscious higher self. Live from my values and no longer live for anyone else but myself. And what happened throughout this journey, there was a second level of forgiveness, if you will. I think what happened to me is once I healed, there was nothing to forgive. So I'm not sure if forgiveness is something we need, because when we heal, all of that is gone. And then there's for me anyways, there was nothing to forgive anymore. And I came from an extremely abusive background in which most people probably would not have survived in such a way that I think that I have, or I know that I have. So that being said, I want you to understand and think about your life. And if you feel broken, maybe you're not broken at all. Maybe you just have needs that have not been met. And maybe sometime in your life, those needs have just come up to remind you that they deserve to be met. You deserve to have a great life. You deserve to be the creator of your life. So that is what this channel is about. I make a lot of attunements because attuning to my true self, what was eventually what got me to full recovery. I had to go in and talk to my subconscious through my superconscious, and I had to assure that part of me that showed up. Sometimes it was hurt, pain, anger, disbelief. I had to assure that part of me that it was loved, and I held compassion for it, and I showed it a new pattern. So I was able to rewire the old memory structures and create new ones that were loving and kind and compassionate. And I'm very grateful for my journey, because this is the journey that has gotten me to where I am at right now. If I talk about my past now, it's certainly not from a level of victimization anymore. It's from a level of empowerment. And I understand, when I am at my highest self, I understand the need for my journey and why I chose this journey. And when I come back down to reality in this 3D world, I realized that I had to heal my body, because my body is my container for my soul, and it holds me, it keeps me alive, and it allows every breath to come through me. And I'm very grateful for coming through this journey a better version than the person who was in it. So enjoying kindness, everything that I create on this channel, every book that I create, every journal that I create, every blog that I write is coming from this place of knowing that I did the inner work to heal those unmet parts and to remind them to come back to their wholeness of who they are and to become one with myself and integrate. I integrated all the fragmented parts of myself. It was a lot of work. I'm still working on it, but the past 4 years have been spent with people who had their expertise in the areas that I needed. And now I am here hoping to serve others in a way that I was served. So enjoying kindness. If this channel is for you, I welcome you. And if this channel is not for you, that's okay. There's many programs out there. There's something for everyone. You can find your path somewhere. I'm not here to try to convince anybody that you can heal your body by using your mind. But I did. I healed my body. My body healed itself. I just created the proper environment in my mind to reprogram the neuroplasticity in my thoughts, in my energy field. And this is also backed up with science. Neuroplasticity has been a big thing going on now, but I've been using it for decades when it wasn't known. I knew it worked because I had been sick all my life, and I used it time and time again to heal myself. And when I say heal myself, It's the innate intelligence of the body that heals us. All we have to do is create the environment for it to thrive. And grief certainly created a grief environment, which is why I got so sick. But love, compassion, joy, peace, laughter, smiles brought me back to my divine alignment, the part that I know that is greater than anything I can do on my own. But when I'm in alignment with my source, anything is possible. Enjoying kindness.